So we'll get started. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight to talk about financial aid in the college bill. My name is Charlotte Oakes, and I am the program coordinator for Tuition Break for the New England Board of Higher Education, and I'm here to welcome you to another educational session. I'm excited to be welcoming back Julie Shields-Rutina from MEFA, the Massachusetts Educational Financing Authority. Julie is the Senior Director of College Planning, Education, and Training at MEFA, and she'll be leading us in a presentation on financial aid offers, and paying the college bill. Today's educational session is meant to give you a better understanding of how to navigate award letters. You are welcome to use our chat function throughout the presentation, as well as the Q&A function. Towards the end of this session tonight, there'll be time to get those questions answers. I will be doing the verbal asking and Julie will be doing most of the answering. Although if you have any questions about tuition break, I'm happy to help. With that, I'll hand it over to you, Julie.
Oh, Charlotte, thank you so much. All right, welcome everyone. And let me share my screen. I'm going to find the presentation right here. Great. All right, so yes, let me help you understand your financial aid offers and pay the college bill. And as Charlotte mentioned, I work at MEFA, and MEFA is a state authority here in Massachusetts, and we have a mission of helping families plan, save, and pay for college. And we have the state savings plans, the U Fund and the U Plan, and actually an attainable plan, which is for someone with a disability to save. And then we have low-cost loans if families need that type of financing. And everything else we do is structured around helping guide families and students with the college process, no matter what stage of the college process that you're in. So we are a resource and happy to help. And I have been doing this work for over 30 years. So I love to be able to talk folks through this whole process and know that I also have two kids who have gone through this process as well. And one is finishing up as a senior in college right now. So first, I guess I will say to you, you're at this stage, this important stage in your family. Students, you're here, unbelievable, and parents, very, very proud, I'm sure. So I just want to say congratulations. This is a big milestone when you get to the end of high school and when you're making this big decision. So sometimes there's so much to think about at this time that it's hard to remember that you really should be good to yourself and really proud of how far you've come. So these are the topics for this evening. We're going to really start with your financial aid offers and helping you understand them. And then we'll talk about if you haven't applied for financial aid, how you can still do that for some types of aid. And then I'm really going to walk you through how to calculate the balance due and why that's so important. It's important that you want to do that now before you commit to a college on May 1st. You just want to make sure that it's going to be an affordable option for you. And so with that, we'll hopefully with some of what we're going to share tonight will help you make a financially wise college decision and then help you develop that plan for paying that bill. And this is a little bit of a timeline for you just to get a sense. So right now, hopefully you're receiving some admissions offers in the mail or maybe online. And then following that are some financial aid offers. And you probably have a mix and are trying to sort through them. So that is the stage, and we're happy to help you with that. And important, again, to compare them before you make that decision. And then going forward, there are all kinds of things that you can do as far as, how are you going to pay? And you will be doing that in the May, June timeframe and over the summer when the bills come out and when you have to pay them. So we're going to take you through the whole timeline of what to do when. So quickly, this is a reminder that, at MEFA, we talk about this all the time, but when you have a financial aid offer in front of you and you see some financial aid, you probably have a mix of these two types of aid. One is merit-based and one is need-based. So I'll just quickly remind you what that is. Merit-based aid is aid that was awarded to you, the student, because of some characteristic about yourself and that the college really wants you to attend, and they're giving you this merit-based aid because of that. We like to think of that as maybe a sports scholarship, or you're the valedictorian of your class, but it's so much more than that. It just means that academically, artistically, athletically, you are high in this admissions pool at a certain college, and they want to give you merit-based aid to recognize all of your hard work to date. So criteria differs from school to school for some of that, but one thing to know about that is if you have any merit-based aid on your award offer, what you want to make sure to know is, do you need to do anything to keep that aid? In other words, is there something tied to that, like you need to keep a 3.0 grade point average in college to be able to keep that merit-based award year over year? So hopefully your financial aid offer explains all of that, but if it doesn't, that would be a great question to ask of the college. And then secondly, need-based aid is money that's been awarded to you based on finances. So based on the information that you submitted to the college on the FAFSA, free application for federal student aid, and maybe the CSS profile too. So this is typically what the award offer part of a financial aid offer would look like. They all look a little different, and if you have some in front of you, you can attest to that. That's what's a little confusing. But what you will see on a financial aid offer, hopefully, is costs and how much it's going to cost. Hopefully you see detailed costs, a full cost of attendance, which includes tuition and fees and housing and food, and maybe transportation, some personal expenses. Hopefully you can see all the costs right there on your award offer. If you can't, that's just important to do your research and figure out what those costs are, because you want to make sure you know that so that you can compare college to college. And then you will probably see some financial aid, hopefully a lot, but hopefully some. So you'll see different types of aid, things like grants and scholarship, which is free money that's just awarded to you that you don't pay back. So for example, if we look at this financial aid offer, ABC University grant, federal SEOG, federal Pell Grant, and Mass Grant are all grants. That's free money that you don't pay back. So this award offer has 4 of those. But you will also see some other types of aid, such as work study. So this one has federal work study program. And that means that you'll be able to use that federal work study allocation, get a job on campus, and earn that $1,500 over the course of the year. And work study is a great program. To have work study makes it easier to get a job on campus, although you still want to jump on that when you get to school, or maybe even beforehand if they have a website with job postings, so that you have your choice of jobs. And I think the jobs usually fall into one of 2 categories. One, it could be a pretty easy job, or you could sit on the library desk or at the athletic center desk and maybe check people in and do your homework at the same time. So some of the jobs are like that, and you might want one of those. Or you might want a job that's a little more interesting to you, where you actually want to learn and where you actually will be working a little more, but it could be good experience for you, such as in a lab if you're a science major, or back in the day when I was in a financial aid office, we always had work study students, and I can say that some of them then went on to careers in higher education. So you never know where your work study job will take you. And then lastly, we have these 2 loans, federal direct subsidized loan and unsubsidized loan. So those are loans, but they are loans that are in the student name only, and they are low interest loans, especially the subsidized loan. That means that the government pays the interest the whole time that you're in college. So that's terrific. That's not true with the unsubsidized loan, but either way, you don't make payments on these loans until 6 months after you graduate. So that, and then at that time, you have a choice of repayment plans so that you can figure out the repayment plan you want to choose based on what type of a job you're going to have when you graduate from college. And so again, these award offers can look different, but we're going to help you kind of understand so you can compare apples to apples. And just know that probably your colleges are asking that you will make a decision by May 1st. So I mentioned a number of things about these federal direct loans, but a few other things are that there are caps. So freshman year, you're eligible for $5,500, sophomore year, $6,500, and junior and senior years, $7,500. So you have some limits on these. If you take all of your federal direct loans, you'll graduate with about $27,000. And that's on a regular repayment plan for 10 years. That would be $300 a month. And many of you will be able to get a job and be able to make that payment. But if not, many of you may not, and you would choose a different type of plan. And in fact, a common choice these days is one that's tied to your income, an income-based plan, where you can be sure that you'll be able to afford your loan payment no matter what your income is. So what's going to happen with this is after you accept and choose a college and say, yes, I'm going to come, then the college will start to send you information. And one of the things they'll have you do is go onto this website, studentaid.gov, and you'll go through a process of entrance counseling, which is just to learn about these loans and the terms and your choices, and to sign the master promissory note on those. And verification is just a process that financial aid offices go through to, they might come back to you after you submitted financial aid applications to ask you to follow up with some information. So just know that that is part of the process. They may ask you for a tax return transcript. They may ask you for bank account statements, things like that. So stay on top of it. And if you get communication from a financial aid office, and especially the financial aid office of this college that you're going to choose, make sure you follow up with them, because you wouldn't want the summer to go by and they still need something, and then you arrive on campus and something's not ready and you're right with your financial aid. You want to make sure you follow up on all of that. Quickly, I'll say, if you have not applied for financial aid yet, you can still apply for financial aid right now. Now, most deadlines for grants and scholarships have probably passed, but not all. So if you need financial aid, you can still apply with the FAFSA, free application for federal student aid. Massachusetts financial aid deadline is May 1st, so you still have time for that. And then if you want to take some of those direct loans, you need to apply using the FAFSA. So just know that there is still time to do some of that for some of your federal aid and your state aid. And then a couple of words about the wait list. So maybe you received one of your responses from a college is that you're on the wait list. What do you do about that? Well, the first is make sure that you let the college know. If you want to stay on that wait list because you are still very interested in that college, please tell them you are interested. And in fact, stay in touch with them every so often, continuing to tell them that you are interested. And in fact, if you earn any additional high school awards, or your new grades, you're doing very well, and you want to add and send in a few other pieces of information, you can do that as well. So you want to formally accept and say, yes, I want to be on this wait list. And the only thing though is you need to also mentally move along. So you need to be making plans to deposit at another college that admitted you by May 1st. And you can do both things at the same time, but just know the wait list is not a finely numbered list. It's a long list sometimes, and different students come off the wait list for different reasons. If the college, I'm making up a silly example, but let's say they lost all their biology majors, then if there's a prospective biology major on the wait list, maybe that person moves to the top of the list or something. So just know it's a flexible, fluid list. So continue to express your interest, but move along and get to know and like the other colleges on your list and find one that you will attend. And because you do need to do that by May 1st. And you may still get a call later in the summer from this college, but then you can make a decision. So I said I would help you figure out the balance due, because it's important that you do figure that out now before you accept at a college, put down your deposit. You want to make sure it's affordable. So here's the formula to figure that out. You want to take all of the college charges, tuition, fees, housing, food, health insurance, all of that, and you want to subtract out any financial aid that you received and enrollment deposit, and the balance equals the balance due. That's what you're going to have to come up with to pay that bill. Now, note something here. What I'm showing you here is the charges that will be on the bill, that tuition, fees, housing, food, health insurance. And so you're not seeing things like personal expenses, transportation, because those are still expenses and part of that cost of attendance. You're still going to have to make sure you have some money for those things, but not for the bill, because they won't be billed to you. They're more incidental. Same in that work study is part of your financial aid offer, but that isn't something you get up front. So when you're calculating college charges minus the financial aid for the balance due, you can leave work study aside, just as you'll leave those incidental expenses aside for now. And this is a great tool. I'm going to take you there right now. It's on the MEFA website, and it's called the College Cost Calculator. All right, I'm going to take you there. This is the MEFA website. Compare costs and use the calculator. And then you see what you can do. You can type right in here. I'll just say University of Mass. I'll say Northeastern University. And I'll say Merrimack College, for example. And then you can go in and you can do up to 6 here, and you'll type in all of these expenses. And then you'll type in all of the aid that you received. And I guess I can, well, I won't do it. I'll just show you. And then including the student loans, then you can put the work study, and then you'll see the remaining cost. And that will help you really compare apples to apples, so to make sure that you're looking. Sometimes you might have received a letter from admissions that said, congratulations, you received a $40,000 scholarship. And we're so excited to have you. That sounds wonderful. But if you look more closely, that might be $10,000 per year. So that's why you want to make sure that when you put that into this calculator, you're putting that in as 10,000, so that you're comparing it to the other awards, looking at the bottom remaining cost to make sure it's affordable for your family. All right, I'll come out of here. Good. So then what do you do? Once you see what the calculator results are, you look and have to think about, as a family, can you afford that? So can you afford all of them? Are some more affordable than others? Probably. And always be thinking that it's not just the fall you're planning for 4 years. So if it's barely affordable this year, is it going to be affordable for the next 3 years? Maybe. And then as a family, you're probably thinking about other children you have who are coming up toward college. As a student, you want to think about, are you going to want to go to graduate school afterwards? Do you want to keep your loan debt down because of that? All around, you definitely want to find go to a college that is a great fit academically, that it is a great fit socially, whether it's in the city or in a rural area, or it's large or small, or has a football team that plays every Saturday in the fall, or it has a great music program, small classes and discussion groups, whatever. You want to find something that's a good fit, but you also want to find something that is going to be financially affordable for your whole family. All right. And so one way to figure out if it's affordable, when you find out what that number is that you'll owe, you want to think about, how are you going to pay for this? All of the ways you're going to pay for it. So one thing you might want to look at is savings. Do you have any savings? Do you have a 529 plan, a prepaid tuition plan? Are there any savings bonds or stocks? Students, do you have any money in your bank account from summer jobs? All of that. Are other family members going to be able to contribute at all? That's a good time to have a conversation with the grandparents, all of that, to see what money is available from savings. And quickly, if you have one of MEFA's plans, the U plan, you can call this number here to request a distribution from your account. And that will be mailed to you in April anyway, and you can choose to have that money sent directly to the college or to you. And if you have a MEFA U fund or another 529 plan, you'll want to call your provider and let them know how much you would like to take out and where you would like it sent. So after that, after you think about your savings, think about your current income. When you're monthly paying all of your bills, is there any family money that's left over at the end of the month that could potentially be used to pay monthly toward college costs? Because all colleges have a monthly payment plan. You can sign up for it. It's not a loan. Sometimes there's a small fee, and that allows you to pay the college over many months versus just paying in the fall and the spring. So take a look at your monthly budget, see how much you might be able to swing per month toward these costs, and possibly join the monthly payment plan. Now, if the college hasn't sent you something yet and it's early, they probably haven't, they will be sending you something. Or after May 1st, you can ask them to send you information about the monthly payment plan. And lastly, it might mean if your savings isn't enough, if you don't have a whole lot out of your monthly income to pay toward college, you might need to borrow a loan. And so that would be the next step. And we'll talk about how you can be wise about your choice here. So other than those federal direct student loans that we talked about right at the beginning, which don't have a credit check, and they're in the student's name, all the other loans that you're going to be thinking about will look at your credit history and we'll do a credit check on you. You want to keep your borrowing to a minimum because you're thinking in terms of at least 4 years maybe, and you want to just try to keep that as low as you can each year. Also thinking about what it's going to cost when you graduate. And all of these loans, students most of the time need to have a co-signer or co-borrower. So that would usually be a parent, but it can be other people too. So any of these additional loans that you would take on, you probably can't do on your own. So the types of what you would want to do is research all of your options for financing and find a loan that has the best rates, things like fixed or a variable interest rate. A fixed you can count on, it never changes. A variable can go up and down with the market. I think that can be a little scarier. So you want to find a low fixed interest rate. You want to find a repayment timeline that is going to work for you as a family. And you also want to decide who is going to be the borrower. Is it you, the parent? Are you going to take this on for your student? Or do you really expect that the student is going to have to cover this? And so those decisions really should be made and talked about now, because they really do factor into that college decision of where you as the student choose to go. And sometimes you can share that. So for example, with MEFA loans, both the parent and the student are on the note. And parents and students can let us know, while they're both responsible, they can let us know where to send the bill, who's going to be making that payment. And I've had parents sometimes say, I'll pay while the student is in college, but once the student graduates, starts making money, there's going to be an expectation that, he will help out as well. So those are good conversations to have up front. One thing to know when you're shopping around for loans is that multiple inquiries in a short period of time for the same type of loan count as that one inquiry. So that's good. We are going to have some webinars. MEFA is going to have some in the spring, or I guess the dates are there, June and July, on comparing college loan options. So you can find all of that on the MEFA website. And this is, I think, a great calculator on the MEFA website as well. And it's MEFA's student loan payment calculator. So if you put in some information like, we want to borrow $20,000, my child is 4 years before graduation, it will pull up all of the different options for MEFA loans. And the nice thing about that is you can actually see exactly what your monthly payment would be, what the total cost of borrowing would be, interest rate, APR, for all the different choices. And what I would say is you want to explore a lot of different loan organizations, loan companies, but make sure that you get all of this same data so you can make a decision about a loan that is going to work best for your family. And so this is just one example. One thing that I have found working with many, many thousands of families in my career is that you will all do this a little differently. And every family is a little bit different and will pay for college slightly differently. So, but let me just show you an example of how one family might pay a college bill that's $20,000. So a lot of money. How are you going to pull that together? So this one family is going to do it this way. They are going to use some student savings. The student has had a job and has saved up some money. And so $1,000 of that is going to be used for this first year. And then the parents have some savings as well. So they're going to use that $4,000. And they have figured out, this one family, that they just paid off a car payment. And so they have no car payment on their car. So they now have $500 a month extra. And they're going to join the monthly payment plan at a college, and they're going to pay $500 for 10 months. And that equals $5,000. And then this family is going to borrow that $10,000 loan from a loan organization that they have, has good terms and it works. And that is how this one family will pay this $20,000 balance. So some other timing that's important to know is that the fall semester bill is usually sent in June or July, and it's usually due in July or August. Now, if you do join the monthly payment plan, that can be a little bit different, and you can start paying even sooner if you want to pay all the way along. But the typical, if you don't join the monthly payment plan, you will probably receive a bill in June or July, and then have to pay in July or August. So it's a good idea to make sure you have your financing in order a couple of weeks before that bill is due. So again, the college will send you information about payment plans, or you can call them And loans, you'll probably want to really start to look at those in June and July and make a wise choice then. And I'll mention private scholarships again. So what do we mean by private scholarships? Those are scholarships that maybe students, maybe your high schools have some scholarships available to students. So you want to check with your school counselor. There could be some community organizations in your town, foundations, parents, sometimes employers have some small scholarships. So keep your eyes open, because even a small scholarship of $250 or something can help buy some books and be a big help to you. So keep your eyes open for that type of money that you can apply to. And then you can also look at some of these online scholarship search engines, mefapathway.org, collegeboard.org, fastweb.com. And you can type in some information about you and your interests and your possible college major, and receive a list of scholarships and just kind of look through them and see which ones you might be eligible for and that you would like to apply to. And MEFA also puts out a lot of information about scholarships. So if you follow MEFA on social media, you can get information about that as well. And then I'm going to talk about one of these programs. And Charlotte, if you want to talk just briefly about tuition break, that's great too. But Mass Transfer is the program we have here in Massachusetts. And that is where students can start at a 2-year college and then transfer to a Mass public 4-year college university with big savings, so part of this program, you can get credit transfer, tuition credits, tuition freezes. So it's worth just checking out this website to see how you can make a public school education here in Massachusetts even more affordable. So especially if you do those calculators and one of the colleges that you're interested in just doesn't seem to be coming up with the numbers and being affordable, this might be something else to look into. And then Charlotte, I will let you talk about tuition break.
Thank you. Tuition break is a regional student discount. We started as a program assisting New Englanders looking for majors that their public schools, their state's public schools, did not offer. We have grown and changed a lot since then, and we work with all public schools, all colleges, public colleges and university in New England now. Some schools are able to offer all of their majors at a discount, and some schools are limited by the number of students they can admit and other factors, and offer as many programs as they're able to. But essentially how it works is if you are a New England resident and you would like to leave your home state for college, but stay within New England, then we try to work and get you a discount. It is program based and residency based, which means that there is no additional application. It's part of your application to the school, and it's not merit based and it's not need based. You can learn a lot more about the intricacies of the program at the website on the screen here, nebhe.org/tuition break. But I will also be available at the end of the presentation and by email to answer any specific questions that you might have. Thanks.
Thank you. And let's talk about the financial aid office. So now that you've applied to a college and hopefully applied to financial aid, the financial aid office is a really good resource for you for questions at this point in the process. And going forward, once you accept at a certain college, you should feel free to at any time ask questions of the financial aid office and really connect with them. So here are some questions you could ask the financial aid office now, and maybe should. One is that question of financial aid renewability criteria. So when you have that financial aid offer in front of you, before you accept, you just want to make sure, will I be able to receive this financial aid offer in the next 3 years as well? And hopefully the answer you receive from the financial aid office is something like this. With any merit-based aid, they'll let you know, oh, with this Dean's Award, you have to keep a 3.0 or something like that. So you'll know that up front, and students will do that to be able to keep their scholarship. Or that's good to know if you think it's going to be hard to do and another college doesn't have that criteria. Those are important factors. And then from a financial need-based aid perspective, I guess the answer you hope to receive from a financial aid office is, as long as your financial situation stays the same, you can expect a similar package from year to year. That's mostly what financial aid offices try to do. They know that you're committing and you want to be relatively sure of the money that you will receive. Another question you could ask is, if I receive a private scholarship, one of those scholarships from the Lions Club or parents' employer, you just want to know how that will affect your financial aid. And for the most part, colleges let you fill any gap with that type of money. And if there is no gap, if you've received a terrific financial aid package that almost meets your need, usually, or does meet your need, then usually they will allow you to at least give up your student loans or work study before taking away any institutional college scholarship. But let's say you receive a huge outside private scholarship. Maybe it could affect the aid package that you're receiving. So do talk with a financial aid office about that, especially if you have a large outside private award. And then here are some other important things to talk with them about. Let's say you have a big change in family circumstances. When you applied for financial aid back in the fall, your financial situation was one way, and now something has changed. By all means, the financial aid office should be one of the first places you talk with about that. You send in information, you write a letter to say, this has changed. This is our new financial circumstance. And the more specific you can be with that information, the better. So don't ever be afraid. Don't ever hesitate. In fact, we have, MEFA has a What to Know About Financial Aid Appeals webinar this Wednesday evening. So you can find that on our website as well. And can you appeal your offer? So yes, you can. And especially you should if there are some extenuating financial circumstances and changes. But let's say there aren't, and the offer just is not enough. Well, you absolutely can appeal. You could, and what I like to say is, have an honest conversation. Call the financial aid office, write to the financial aid office, tell them why this college is your first choice and why you really want to go and you think it would be a great fit. And then talk with them about your financial situation and explain that you are appealing for some additional money. Some colleges may say, I'm sorry, unfortunately, we went out with our largest financial aid offers and that's it. So manage your expectations, because you could get an answer like that. But there might be some colleges that will engage in that conversation with you, ask you more questions, and see if they can give you a little more financial aid. So it's always worth asking, but again, manage your expectations. And again, it's best to follow the college financial aid office protocol and procedures. So if you call and they like to talk with you over the phone, that's great. Maybe they have email, maybe they have a chat, maybe they ask you to write a letter, all of that. Just whatever the procedures are, try to follow that. All right, so what's next in the timeline? Know that by the May 1st, probably you want to pay that enrollment deposit. Then you really want, but before then, you really want to make sure that whatever choice you're making is going to be affordable, and then think through all those pieces and know loosely how you're going to pay that balance due. Feel free to contact MEFA at any time. We're happy to help you with all of this. You can see all the calculators there, as well as all of our other resources like podcast, blog, things like that. So you have all the information where you can call us with questions, you can email us with questions, and you could set up a one-on-one appointment if that would be helpful. And here we are on social media. So I mentioned that we put out a lot of scholarship information on social media. So look at that. And we can open it up for any questions. That was a lot.
Lovely. Yes, I always find after listening to these educational sessions I help co-host that I think to myself, I wish I had known this when I was applying to school. I wish I had known this when I was younger. So thank you so much for this information. Um, we do have a few questions in the chat as well as some from social media. So I'll start with their questions in the chat. The first one is, how do you negotiate your financial aid package?
I'm glad that you asked that question and that you asked it exactly like that. So what I would say is you try not to think of it as negotiating, because the financial aid offices aren't thinking about it that way, right? When people work in a financial aid office, their job is to take all the admitted students and take all the monies from the resources they have from, federal, state, institutional, and try to put together a financial aid package for all the students, all the families. So they take that very seriously and are trying to do their best that way, according to policies of the college, all that. So if you come to them and say, can I negotiate this? That just sort of doesn't sound right, because it sounds more like wheeling and dealing. So I think a better way to do that, which is what you're trying to say, is how can you ask for more money? And you should feel free to do that. So I like to think of it more of having an honest conversation with college and asking if you can provide more information, saying honestly why you need more money, and also giving a sense of that you're putting together a plan, that you're willing to go all out, from a student perspective, from a parent perspective, to pay whatever you can, but you're finding it just isn't affordable. And so what else could they do to help you? So that's more of a way to approach that, honestly, and just telling the truth about it. That's how I'd say it. So call it an appeal. How can I appeal my financial aid award?
I love that answer. I have a few friends who work in financial aid offices, and they are always so grateful when people and parents treat them like people as well as employees. So it's very nice to hear that sentiment. Excellent. Okay, our next question is the state the CSS? So I think what they might be wondering is, what is a CSS? Is it state rather than federal?
Oh, great. Yeah. So the CSS profile is another financial aid form that some colleges require on top of the FAFSA. So all colleges require the FAFSA to apply for financial aid. But some colleges, mostly private colleges that have a lot of their own scholarship and grant dollars to offer to the students, require that additional form, mainly because it asks more questions that the FAFSA doesn't ask. A simple example that I like to use is that the FAFSA doesn't ask any questions about the home that you live in and what it's worth, and do you have a mortgage, nothing like that. Whereas the CSS profile does ask a lot of questions like that. So it just gives that college a little more information about you as a family to be able to award their college financial aid.
Perfect. Thank you. Our next question is, the webinar you mentioned for this Wednesday, will that be recorded?
Yes. So that's a great question. If you go to the MEFA website and sign up for the webinar, I'd say that's the easiest thing to do. Charlotte and I were just talking about how this works. If you sign up, then hopefully you attend. But if you don't attend, everyone who signs up and registers will receive a copy of the recording, and I don't think there'll be slides. It's more of a panel, but we'll receive a copy of the recording the next day.
Excellent, thank you. That is a good reminder for me to mention that this recording will be on the College Opportunity and Exploration platform, where many of you are coming from, as well as Nebby's YouTube, starting probably mid to late tomorrow, in case anybody would like to take a look. Okay, Our next question is, can I still ask for the New England tuition even if Massachusetts public schools offer my major? This one sounds more like a me question, so I'll take this one. The answer, which is a little unsatisfying, is it depends. Schools work with us to offer as many majors as possible in a suite that makes sense for both us and them. So it will depend on your program and what state that you are from, what state you're trying to go to. So the easiest way for me to answer this question is I'm going to throw the tuition break email in the chat here. And if you have any specific questions about your specific tuition break situation, please email me and I'd be happy to help you when we have more time and I can dedicate all of my attention to you. Okay. Our next question is, does having a 529 college savings account how does having a 529 college savings account affect financial aid offers?
Yes. So I will say very little. So that's a great question. So the financial aid formula that, is part of the FAFSA application, CSS profile, it is very much an income-based formula. So from your family income, it ends up being that the financial aid process system expects a lot of us to pay a lot out of our family income. And so that kind of drives how much we have to pay. Whereas with assets, and that includes 529 plans, because the parents are usually the owners, so it's a parent asset. They are a small part of the formula. So in fact, they are treated at a rate of 5.6%. So let's say that you have $10,000 in a 529 plan. That affects what you're expected to pay toward your college costs by about $560. So you would be expected to pay about $560 more than someone without any other type of assets or savings. So yes, it's a part of the formula. And if you have a lot of assets, that can affect how much aid you receive. But the way I see it work out is you would much rather have that $10,000 in a 529 plan and have to pay $560 more than not having that $10,000. And think of it this way: if you have $100,000 in savings, then that increases what you'd be expected to pay by about $5,600. So wouldn't you definitely rather be a family with $100,000 and have to pay $5,000 more? So it works out in your favor to have the savings.
Thank you. I believe our last question in the Q&A, and then we'll switch to the online submitted questions, is it better to sit down with your organization or the university to figure out what type of financing we can put together for our student?
Oh, that's great. So honestly, the ideal is to talk with the financial aid office at your university, because they can give you such specific information and really work with you. So that is the ideal. But the reality is that that colleges are so busy at this time of year, and financial aid offices have so many families that they're working with in this very concentrated period of time prior to May 1st. And sometimes it's thousands upon thousands of students for each counselor who's helping. So what we've found is that sometimes colleges don't have the time to spend with each family. So if that is the case at some of the colleges you're working with, that's why MEFA, is here. Actually, the colleges have talked with us about this, and they love that we do some of these programs because we can generally help you. And then any specific colleges you can go to at the college. So feel it out, be in touch with those financial aid offices at the college. But if you feel like you need more time to sort of have that one-on-one and it's not available to you, then MEFA is a great resource.
Thank you. I have two questions submitted from Twitter that I think you have already touched on a little bit. I believe that repetition is better, so I'm going to give them to you again. The first one is, what does cost of attendance mean and how is it different from tuition fees?
Oh, yeah, that's great. So cost of attendance is every last penny, pretty much, I'm exaggerating a little, but is everything that it's going to cost your student to be at college for a year. So that includes tuition, fees, housing, food, if they're on campus, maybe personal expenses like shampoo and pizza, and maybe transportation or a lab fee. So it's going to include all of that cost of attendance. And you can receive financial aid for all of that, or you could borrow for all of that, because we know that it's going to cost the student all of that to be on campus. So then, as we mentioned earlier, pieces of that will actually be billed costs to you and pieces won't. So the things that will be billed to you are tuition and fees and housing and food, for example. And the things that wouldn't be billed to you would be books and transportation. But you'll have to factor those in when you're thinking about how much money the student is going to need.
Thank you. This is a related question, which is housing and meal plan included in tuition and fees?
Yeah, so no, they are separated out. So you'll see when you, both on your aid offer, if they list the costs, you'll see tuition, fees, housing, meal plans, and you'll see that on your bill as well. And so you'll see the different pieces of what things cost. So for example, some colleges allow you to choose from a variety of meal plans. So you'd be able to see tuition and fees and housing. Maybe you could even choose different dorms that cost different amounts. Housing, and then you'd see, I'm going to say the 21 meal plan or something, or the 14. If you think, oh, that's too much, you might look into a 14 meal plan, and then you'd be able to see that on the bill to be able to make that adjustment.
Perfect. Thank you. Our last social media question is, how does tuition break affect my financial aid? So I will take this one. The way that we like to talk about tuition break is that it functions as a first line of defense. The discount will bring down the total of your tuition, and then all other aid will be applied after that. So the typical tuition break discount ends up being about $8,500 per year, but that is dependent on the amount of in-state tuition. Tuition break discounts will never be more than 175% of in-state tuition, which is kind of a little bit of confusing math. So I'm happy to talk with anyone more one-on-one about what that might mean for your chosen school. Like I said, my email is in the chat. Okay, and let's see, I think we actually just had one more Q&A get added. Yes, is getting health insurance required?
Oh, thank you. I know I didn't mention that. I usually mention that. Thank you. So no, but it is required for the college sometimes to put it on your bill. So you may see that health insurance charge on your bill. But if the student has health insurance through parents or the family, you can waive that charge, and should. So as soon as you see your bill, hopefully they would tell you where the health insurance waiver form is. But if you don't find it, you want to call the financial aid office and ask for a waiver for the health insurance. And you just have to show proof that the student has other health insurance.
Excellent, thank you. I see that there is a question in the chat about tuition break. What I'm going to do for you is I'm going to reach out to you personally to answer that one, because we're running out of time here. I want to make sure that everyone, that I get your answer as complete as possible. So with that, I think I will say thank you so much, Julie. We are always so thankful for your support and expertise, and it's always a pleasure talking with you. I have a link in there about future MEFA events. My contact information is in the chat as well. Julie, is there anything that you would like to say before we end today?
No, I would just say thank you, Charlotte, and thank you to all of you and for your great questions, and to know that there's so many resources. So feel free to reach out as you go along with this whole process.
Awesome. In that case, I would like to say thank you everyone for your time. We hope to hear from you soon. It's been lovely, and I hope you enjoy your night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye, everybody.